Okay, let's jump right in. Have you ever found yourself totally stuck in a weeknight dinner rut? Just staring blankly at the kitchen counter, wondering how to throw together something incredibly satisfying, but, absolutely foolproof? Well, you are in the perfect place. Welcome to today's explainer, where we are going to break down step by step exactly how perfect enchiladas come together. We're looking at this highly rated blueprint for awesome chicken enchiladas, and honestly, my goal today is just to show you how a handful of basic ingredients can transform into a creamy, savory weeknight masterpiece. Right out of the gate, our source material hits us with this golden rule, the secrets in this seasonings. And that really sets the stage here. I mean, these aren't just your standard chicken wrapped in a tortilla, not at all. The foundational flavor relies heavily on a really specific, carefully constructed blend of spices. That's the magic trick that takes a standard Tuesday night dinner and turns it into something you'd actually want to serve to guests. So definitely keep that in mind as we map out this whole process. Okay, let's get into phase one, crafting the savory filling. Every great structure needs a solid foundation, and for enchiladas, that is all about what goes inside the tortilla. So we're starting with our core building blocks. First up, 2 whole pounds of skinless boneless chicken breasts. So yeah, this is a seriously hearty recipe. To build out those flavors, or bringing in a tablespoon of butter, a small chopped onion, and an entire bunch of chopped green onions. Now, a quick heads up on those green onions, we're actually going to divide them and use them in different phases, so don't throw them all in at once. We also need a 4-ounce can of chopped green chiles to start layering in just a touch of that mild savory heat. All right, time to get hands-on. You want to toss that chicken into a large pot and cover it with water. Crank the heat to high to bring it to a boil, but as soon as it gets there, immediately dial it back down to medium-low. Cover it up and let it simmer for about 10 minutes or until the chicken is no longer pink and the juices run clear. Once that's looking good, pull the chicken out, let it set until it won't burn your fingers, and then just methodically shred it apart using 2 forks. It might seem tedious, but this shredding technique is actually super important. It creates maximum surface area for all those sauces and spices to cling to later on. And hey, a super quick note on food safety. Our absolute target metric here is exactly 165 degrees Fahrenheit, or if you're using metric, 74 degrees Celsius. Grab your instant read thermometer, stick it right into the thickest part of the chicken, and make sure it hits that number. It's the best way to guarantee everything is perfectly and safely cooked before we start building those complex flavors. Chicken is prepped, now we head over to the skillet. Drop in your butter over medium heat, wait for that nice sizzle, and toss in your chopped onion. You're going to cook and stir this for about 5 minutes until the onion turns translucent. Honestly, your kitchen is going to smell incredible right about now. This gives us this beautiful aromatic base. Next, toss that shredded chicken back in, along with a cup of water, half of those green onions we set aside, the green chilies, and our very first hit of seasoning. Let that whole mixture bubble and simmer together for 10 minutes so the chicken can really soak up all that goodness. Okay, let's talk about that secret seasoning we mentioned at the very beginning. After that first 10-minute simmer, it's time to introduce the star of the show. We're tossing in a 1.25-ounce package of mild taco seasoning mix, a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/2 teaspoon each of onion and garlic powder, and a teaspoon of lime juice for that perfect punch of acidity. Stir all that right into the skillet and let it simmer for another 10 minutes. This is literally where the magic happens. The liquids reduce down, the lime juice brightens up the rich chicken stock, and the extra onion and garlic powders reinforce those aromatics we started with. This right here, this is exactly how perfect enchiladas come together, layer by layer of delicious layer. All right, moving right along to phase 2, assembly and saucing. Now for the fun, tactile part, what chefs like to call mise en place, getting everything organized before the big bake. We need our binding agents and, of course, our structural wrappers. Grab a 10.5-ounce can of condensed cream of chicken soup. Trust me, this is going to bring an unbelievably creamy texture to the final dish. You'll also need 5 absolutely massive 12-inch flour tortillas. And finally, 3 cups of shredded cheddar cheese. We'll be using that cheese both inside the enchiladas and melted beautifully right on top. Now here is a really clever trick from the source material. Take just 1 single cup of that condensed soup and stir it directly into your skillet with the chicken and spice mixture. It acts like a binder, holding the filling together and making it super rich. But wait, don't toss the rest of the soup. You're going to take what's left and spread it evenly across the bottom of a 9 by 13-inch baking dish. It adds a great layer of flavor, but more importantly, it creates this non-stick flavor barrier so your tortillas don't glue themselves to the glass pan while they bake. Honestly, it's brilliant. Time for the roll-up. Since we have 5 tortillas, the math is pretty straightforward. You just fill each one with about a fifth of your creamy chicken mixture, and then top that filling off with roughly 5 tablespoons of cheddar. Now pay attention here, because when you roll these up, the absolute most critical thing for structural integrity is to place them seam side down in the baking dish. Seriously, if the seam faces up, these things are going to unroll and just burst open in the oven. Let gravity do the work for you. Let the weight of the enchilada hold itself securely closed. Once you've got all 5 enchiladas tightly packed into the dish side by side, it's time for the crowning toppings. You'll take a 10-ounce can of enchilada sauce and pour it generously and evenly over the top. Then, sprinkle on whatever cheddar cheese you have left, the second half of those green onions from phase 1, and a drained 6-ounce can of sliced black olives. Visually, it is just stunning. You're layering that deep red sauce, bright yellow cheese, fresh green onions, and those striking black olives. It's organized, it's colorful, and man, it is ready for the heat. And that brings us to phase 3, the bubbly bake. So your fully assembled masterpiece is sitting there on the counter. The key to pulling this all together in the oven is the temperature. You need to preheat exactly to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 175 degrees Celsius. This is the absolute sweet spot. It's hot enough to melt the cheese perfectly and heat the filling all the way through, but it's gentle enough that you aren't going to scorch the edges of your flour tortillas before the inside is even ready. As for the time, the magic number is 25. Set your timer and let it bake for about 25 minutes. But hey, any good cook knows you don't just blindly trust a timer, right? You have to use your senses. Look for the visual cues. You want to leave those enchiladas in that 350-degree oven until the cheddar cheese is totally melted across the top, transforming into this gorgeous golden blanket. Plus, you want to see the enchilada sauce and the soup mixture actively bubbling up around the edges of the pan. When you see that bubbly action, you know for sure the heat has penetrated all the way into the center of those thick, heavy tortillas. Finally, before we wrap up today, let's explore phase 4, upgrades and shortcuts. The source material actually includes some fantastic cook's notes to help us tweak this foundational blueprint. Let's say you're super strapped for time. The notes point out that boiling, cooling, and shredding the raw chicken is easily the most time-consuming part of the whole recipe. If you're rushing on a busy weeknight, you can entirely bypass phase 1's chicken prep. Just grab a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, shred it up, and boom, you instantly skip ahead to building your flavor base in the skillet. It's the ultimate convenience hack, and you don't sacrifice an ounce of the recipe's structural integrity. There are also some really awesome pro customizations you can try. Want a spicier enchilada? Easy. Just swap out that mild taco seasoning for a hot version. Or, go all out and toss some freshly diced jalapenos directly into the skillet while the chicken filling is simmering. And to elevate this from just a standalone dish into a complete restaurant-style meal, the source highly recommends serving these with a side of Mexican rice. Oh, and don't forget to load them up with your absolute favorite fresh taco toppings at the very end. Think sour cream, cilantro, maybe some diced avocado. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. When you step into your kitchen, ready to completely bust out of your dinner rut and try this structured, layered technique, what's your game plan going to be? Will you stick to the savory, comforting, mild classic? Or are you going to take the shortcut, bring the heat with hot seasoning and jalapenos, and truly make it your own? By understanding exactly how perfect enchiladas come together step by step, you have total control over the outcome. So get in the kitchen, play around with those secret seasonings, and most importantly, enjoy the results.